Hello, welcome back. Or if you are new here, my name is Delian. This is the channel where we talk about becoming the main character of our own lives by developing more self-awareness, self-acceptance, and creating self-agency so that we can have authorship over the story we live in and therefore the experience we have with our lives. And we do that by delving into a bunch of different things, including astrology. So to me, astrology has been one of the most beneficial ways of being able to develop more self-acceptance and self-awareness, and therefore get some more clarity, like really great clarity on where I want to go with my life and how to do it. So today I'm going to be talking about Mercury in all of the houses and signs. And Mercury is about communication. It's about how we express ourselves. It's how we think. And I find that this is just a really great way of being able to notice if we are living in a way that's actually authentic. Because if we're not, I think our communication system goes down. And this can show up as jumbled thoughts, not being able to communicate in an effective and clear way, or even possibly physically losing your voice, feeling like your throat is constricted, things like that. So I'm going to go through all of the signs and houses. And if you are from the style group, I will be talking about how it influences style as a way that you express yourself. So, okay, let's dive in. First things first, Mercury in Aries, or the first house. So Aries is about the spark of life. It's about how we are inspired, how we're in contact with our senses and our impulses. It's the most youthful of all of the signs. Imagine a baby and they're experiencing everything for the first time, right? And the sense of curiosity that can come with that, a sense of, and this is why Aries, I think, can sometimes be called selfish. It's not that they're selfish. It's like they're experiencing themselves for the first time, and that's exciting. And they want to experience all of those things. And so therefore, if you have Mercury here, this is how you need to express yourself, the way you use your voice, the way that you think. If you have it here, I would not be surprised if you have a lot of sparks of ideas, lots of interesting things that you find exciting, that you want, it could be that when you think something and when you do something doesn't have a lot of space between it, unless your Mercury is retrograde. If you were born with a retrograde Mercury, my personal belief is that this is an area that you're actually here to develop to the point that you're actually really good at this way of expressing. But at first, it's kind of hard. You are met with some resistance. So keep that in mind as I explain all of this. Mercury in Aries, or first house, is going to be, again, there's going to be some impulsivity. It's a fire sign. I'm going to guess some fast talking, or at least talking or expressing yourself in a way where it's this is exciting. This is what's fun. This is where my impulses are taking me right now. In terms of vocal quality, or even the style you write or the style you dress in, I think that there's going to be a youthful way that this is occurring, a youthful energy. There's going to be this sense of at least the words you use or the way you think, maybe even the actual vocal quality you have is going to be a bit more wow, we're here to play. We're here to experience all of this newness. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a little bit of a higher voice, a little bit more of a joyful quality. And again, unless your Mercury is in a different house or sign, just notice that those two things coming together are going to create something very specific. So, but yes, I would not be surprised if there's even a naivety. I have tried saying this word a couple times now. A way of being naive with your voice, or the way that you write or share your thoughts. There's a bit of innocence here, I think. joyful, curious innocence, which I think can show up in it. If you notice that your communication system is down for the count, or that you're losing your voice, or that you feel like you're not in touch with your own thoughts, have you been allowing yourself to embrace what's interesting to you? Have you been following your impulses? Have you been letting yourself be in touch with your senses and say, oh my gosh, this is how this feels to me? And being aware of that. If you aren't, I would not be surprised if this is when your communication systems are down for the count. And for you, you're here to express your interests. You're here to express what inspires you, what you're sensing, what your impulses are. And I think that that's really, really exciting and really fun. And there is a just a pureness, I think, that can happen with a Mercury in this spot. As another caveat, if you've noticed that like you are having a hard time expressing yourself effectively and your Mercury is here, make sure that you're not letting yourself get caught, like, how do I want to say this? You are likely inspired by a lot of things. You've got lots of sparks and ideas and lots of flashes of fun insights. And when it comes to like anything you're trying to create, your style, a story, anything, right? Your meal plan, it might be that in a good exercise could be like, okay, list out all of the things that you are often inspired by. And maybe they seem really, really different, but see if you can find the root inspiration for you. Because if you can let that be your North Star in how you express yourself, just because then it can feel like you've got a bit of a container for all of your inspiration to exist in, versus feeling potentially pulled in every inspirational or every spark of idea is something that you have to invest, all of your cookies in. And it's like, well, yeah, you will probably feel inspired a lot of the time, but that being able to find the things that you want to truly follow and invest in will likely be something that could be helpful to you in terms of style and how you communicate, right? So, okay. Mercury and Taurus are the second house. We're in our first earth sign. However, it's still, I would say, a youthful type of energy. This is going to be somebody who has, I think, a vocal quality that's probably a little bit higher, like a more face vocal quality, but because it is earth, there is a measuredness, there is a groundedness, there is a valuing of the resource of your voice and your words, and a more steady way that you might express yourself. I do think that Mercury in Taurus is going to be a lot of thoughts are going to go around like, do I feel taken care of here? Especially like just physically, and very much like I mentioned this in past videos, like, do I feel like I'm in a nest right now? Do I feel taken care of, that my needs are going to be met? And how do I express my needs in a way where they will be met? I do think that Taurus Mercury is like, it might take a little bit more time for you to like go, okay, yes, that's what I'm thinking. Those are my thoughts. Or like getting your thoughts to match up with what you're communicating just might be more of something you've got to sit down with and take some time with. But my guess is that you're going to be thinking and communicating to yourself along the lines of, what do I need in order to feel taken care of, to feel safe, to feel like my needs are going to be met? And also, I think this is why Taurus energy is going to be a bit about like, do I feel is there a luxury element here? But really, abundance is what I think the word is here for Taurus. And Mercury is going to want to express and think in a way that is about what makes them feel abundant. That could be respect, that could be luxury, that could be knowledge, right? Although if it's knowledge, I wouldn't be surprised if your Mercury is also like in the third house or the ninth house or something. But these sorts of things are going to be top of mind for Taurus Mercury, is what makes me feel safe and abundant. And probably able to communicate in a way where you will get those needs met. And if you aren't expressing and communicating what makes you feel abundant and safe, if you have a lot of scarcity thoughts, I would that's when I would guess is like you might experience things like your throat constricting or losing your voice or feeling like you have to shrink yourself, right? Mercury is about communicating. It's about expressing. It's about being able to take what's inside of here and have somebody else also understand it. And if you're not doing that, go check and see what's happened. Where is your Mercury? And if it's in Taurus or the second house, are you allowing yourself to communicate what would bring you abundance? What would make you feel safe? What are your needs? Are you expressing your needs? Those are going to be things that are important for Mercury and Taurus in the second house. Also, for Mercury and Taurus of the second house, there's going to be like, I think, an intuitive or just a natural cognitive way of being able to say to oneself, this is what this space needs in order to feel more cozy, comfortable, nest-like, right? That's just gonna, like, home design stuff might come naturally to you, because again, it's the way you process your thoughts is by being able to say, okay, what does this space around me need in order to feel abundant, comfortable, protected, all of those kinds of things. Okay. Yes. Mercury in third house or Gemini. So Mercury rules Gemini in the third house. So it's very comfortable isn't quite the right word. It's like, this is its home. This is where it's very expressive. People with Mercury and Gemini are likely going to be fast thinkers and fast talkers. Like, the thoughts and the talking might be happening simultaneously. There's a lot of ideas and learning that, like, Gemini Mercury, like, wants to learn things, wants to it's not even like wanting to understand everything. It's like actually just like the learning part is fun. And I think that for Mercury and Gemini, the need to express yes, needing to express is going to be important for them. If they're not getting their thoughts out, whether it's on paper, whether it's with a friend, what's like, they are probably going to get a lot of energy by being able to engage in conversation and be able to share all of the thoughts and ideas and the things that they're learning about with other people. And in terms of your style, there's like a desire to express what you're learning, and it doesn't even mean that everybody has to know, right? It just is like, that's what you want to express. You want to express this new thing you've learned. If you find yourself getting stuck in your style and your expression, go and check out if your Mercury is here in Gemini or the third house, whether or not you are trying on all of the new things you're learning instead of understanding what you want to express and communicate, and let the learnings support that versus just expressing everything that you've learned. And then if you notice that you've lost your voice, you feel constricted, like your communication systems are down, see if you're not letting yourself learn new things. See if there are any issues you might be having around having a space where you can just express like literally get all of your thoughts out. I think journaling is a brilliant thing for Gemini Mercuries. Also, voice notes, because the air signs, you have like lots of thoughts are happening, right? And so giving yourself an outlet is important in order to rest. If you're watching this video now, when it's been released, Mercury just went in retrograde yesterday. And if you have Mercury in Gemini or any of the air signs, this is especially a good opportunity for you to slow down. It's slowing down anyway, right? You feel it. It's uncomfortable probably, but it's an opportunity to be able to get a little bit more reflective, let your brain actually rest a little bit, let yourself get bored. And don't feel like you have to have thoughts going all the time in order to feel comfortable. And if you push it, I think that's when we start seeing the Mercury retrograde things that we're all afraid of happening, right? It's like, yeah, because the opportunity right now is to rest. And if you keep pushing, that's when we start seeing issues. So, just be aware of that. Also, if your Mercury is retrograde in Gemini or the third house in your birth chart, just know that you may have had to really learn how to communicate. And I see this especially with Mercury in the air signs, that there may have been an internal story or a story you got told that you were behind, like intellectually, if your Mercury was retrograde in your chart, and that you had to learn that you were actually, like you figured out later that you were actually really smart, that you actually were very capable. Or like this is somebody who may overcome like a speech impediment, right? Like that, those are the sorts of things Mercury in retrograde, especially in Gemini in the third house, might just be a part of your life story, right? Which is really, I think, really cool. And that as you overcome those things, you actually get really good at communicating very effectively. Love it. Okay. Mercury in Cancer, the fourth house. Oh, I didn't talk about the vocal quality of Gemini in the third house. Again, we're in an air sign. This is going to be probably somebody who talks fast, a little bit higher, still like really youthful. Think about like the kid who comes home from school after like they've learned something new and they're like, Mommy, Daddy, like, I want to talk to you about all of the things I learned. I like learned this and I learned this and I learned this. Like that's going to be the energy behind a Mercury, Gemini, or third house kind of quality, vocal quality. I would bet. So, okay. Mercury in Cancer or the fourth house. This is going to be somebody who communicates and expresses belonging, emotional tenderness, somebody who puts a lot of emphasis on thinking about, do I feel safe? Do I feel loved? Yeah, it's going to be more of that second part. Do I feel loved? Am I loved? Am I nurtured? Think about in terms of vocal quality. We're still in a youthful quality, but we're in water, so a little bit more melodic, a little bit more flowy, a little softer potentially. And imagine like the little kid who wakes up from a nightmare and goes into their parents' bedroom, or they got picked on at school and they come home and like the little emotional quiver of like, can somebody come take care of my emotions kind of thing, like that. I could imagine that this would be a vocal quality for Mercury in Cancer, or the fourth house. But also just being able to really communicate how to take care of other people's emotions, right? Being able to, I wouldn't be surprised if this person develops a really tender way of talking, a really like, let me soothe you and soothe your emotions with my tone, with the words that I say. And also this is probably something that they want in return. I should have said this for the other types as well, but like however you communicate, your style of expression, oftentimes we want other people to communicate with us that way. And so if you have somebody in your life and you have a Mercury in Cancer, or any of the placements we've talked about, You could go up to them and be like, hey, this is how I communicate. This is important to me. And this is also how I like to be communicated with. Like, if you, again, Cancer, Mercury is like, I really like a tender tone, something that makes me feel safe and emotionally cared for. And that's great. Just make sure that you also check out where their Mercury is, and that you take into consideration how they like to be communicated with as well, right? That is communication. It's like being able to say, okay, this is your style, this is my style. Let's make sure that we are conscientious of the impact we're making on each other. And yes, so Mercury, Cancer, I just think is going to be really good at being soothing, being tender. I think if you notice that you're losing your voice or that you feel constricted, ask yourself whether or not you feel emotionally safe. Make sure that you are on the front lines of communicating to yourself in a way that says, I belong, I'm safe. If you are communicating, because communication goes both ways. It's an inner communication and an outer communication. If you're communicating to yourself in a way that makes you not feel safe, is constantly activating your nervous system, then it is like other people can try and be soothing all they want all day long, and it's not going to land. So it's really important, if you have Mercury and Cancer, the fourth house, that you choose to be on the front lines of making sure that the communication style you use with yourself is soothing, that you are mothering to yourself. And that's going to be really important. Okay, Mercury in Leo, or the fifth house. Creativity, expression, being able to say, look at what I made, look at what I came up with. I imagined something and then I made it. We're back into a fire sign. Imagine the energy of the little kid who just did their first art class, and they come home and they're like, Mommy, Daddy, look at what I made, right? Like, this is why Leos can get a bad rap for wanting the spotlight, but it's like, they don't want the spotlight necessarily. They want you to see what they made. Like, they created something. Isn't that so cool? And so Mercury here is going to be about like being able to show what you created. And I do think that it is important to show it. It can be just to yourself, as long as you consider yourself important, which is a video we should probably just do another time. But for Mercury and Leo, like, there is this needing to show what you created. But because I would say that if you have Mercury in the fifth house or Leo, you are here to express something you've created. And because it's about communicating, it is communicating it. It is sharing it and showing it with someone, the world, someone out there, right? And I also think that if you notice that you feel stuck, that your communications systems are down, or like you feel like your thoughts are sluggish, are you creating? Are you letting yourself express your creativity to the world around you, to somebody that is important? Are you allowing your voice, your thoughts to showcase your creativity? And again, if you feel stuck in style, if you feel like it's not, like, your style's not expressing itself the way you want it to, are you letting yourself be creative? Are you getting too stuck in a system? Are you letting yourself play? Oh, Mercury and Leo wants to play. And there's, if you're not letting yourself play, I would not be surprised if this is when you notice, like, your voice is not there, literally or figuratively. And so, and to, again, because this channel is about helping us step into being the main character of our own lives. If you realize and you look at astrology and you're like, okay, this is the energetic blueprint. This is creating self-awareness. It's normalizing your experience so that you can take more authorship over the direction you move in. If you notice that you're not playing and that you don't feel like your voice is just not there, and your Mercury's here, all you have to do is go, okay, I know what I got to do. I got to play and see what happens. And also, like, figure out what your version of play is, right? If your Mercury is in the 5th house, but also in Pisces, that kind of playfulness is going to look different than if it's in the 5th house and in Virgo. Not a right or wrong, but figuring out what play means for you and letting yourself express that, letting yourself communicate with that playfulness, through that playfulness, is going to be a part of your life journey, your story blueprint, which I find exciting. I just think that's so cool. Okay. I talked about the quality of voice. Again, still youthful, but like, because it's a fire sign, there's still some intensity. There's still some like coming at you sort of energy. Probably warmer, like for all the fire signs, a little bit warmer. For the air signs, it's going to be a little bit faster, even breathy potentially. And for the water signs, that melody, the waves drifting, you know. So keep that in mind as we continue on. Let's move into Mercury in the 6th house or Virgo. Okay. I think that Mercury, we're moving into a little bit more maturity. Think about like 15 to 17 years old is what I'd peg this age range as. And this is going to be like the person who comes home from school and like is cognitively aware that like, I need to make myself lunch. Maybe they have a sibling. There's people that they're like aware that need to be taken care of on a very practical level. There's still a lot of youthfulness here. 15 to 17 is still young, but it's when you're starting to move into some more maturities, to some more awareness of like taking on responsibility, right? And so we can imagine for the vocal expression, I don't think we're going to get chest resonance, but I do think that we're going to like slip into some like a little bit more grounded, a little bit more, it's an earth sign, so measured is still going to be here. It's going to make sure that your words lean a little bit practical. There's going to be, I think there's still some sweetness here, some youthful quality, but it's going to be more measured, a little bit more grounded, and also the communication system that's happening internally likely has a bent towards what do people need in order to be taken care of? What food needs to be made? Does everybody have the clothes that are required, right? There's a bent towards, okay, we need to make sure people are taken care of. And therefore I would not be surprised if you have Mercury in the 6th house or Virgo. Please let me know if you have this and this is accurate, that there is a need to advocate for people who don't have. So like these kids aren't getting fed. Mercury in Virgo or the 6th house, I think is going to be one of the first people to like say something about that. It's going to be like, okay, we need to do something about this. Like using their voice to share how people aren't being taken care of and how they should be. I also think that there's, if you notice that your voice gets constricted, that your communication levels are down and you have Mercury here, are you taking any of your communication energy and pointing it towards your own practical needs? I think that Mercury and Virgos may have a bent towards being so aware of what everybody else needs, and they think that their needs and taking care of their own needs will get in the way of taking care of other people's needs. And it's not true. That's like a story that doesn't actually work. Because when you take care of yourself and you actually do the things that you practically need in order to have a healthy body, to make sure that because the 6th house represents your body, your physicality. That's why there's a practical leaning with a Virgo energy. If you're not putting your own body's needs into consideration, you won't be as effective. A part of the lesson here is to make sure that you are advocating for your own needs as well. Realizing, like, you don't want to wipe out your ability to take care of other people. No. This is going to benefit your ability to take care of other people. And it's more beneficial if you actually consider your own needs and vocalize them, actually say what they are. And even if it's just to yourself first. I think that there can be a difficulty with Mercury and Virgo, or the sixth house, where you're like, I don't have needs. Nah, I got it. I'm good. It's like, no, you're still human. You have needs. And again, I think it comes from this place. Again, imagine that 15 to 17-year-old who's like, oh my gosh, I came home, mom and dad are busy, and I've got to take care of myself. And also I've got this sibling here who needs to be taken care of. And like just stepping into that role and having this, I think it comes from a good-hearted place. But again, we're here about finding balance, creating moderation, actually living the story that benefits you overall. And so again, if you notice that your voice is leaving you, literally or figuratively, make sure if you have Mercury in the sixth house or Virgo that you're actually putting your own, especially your own physical needs, into the equation. At least into the equation, if not priority. Okay. Anything else I want to say here? No, I think that's good. Let's move on to Mercury in Libra, or the seventh house. Okay. We're back into an air sign. We're getting into some more maturity. And again, Libra is like the sign that's like, okay, let's just say this is like 20 to 22. They're in college by themselves for the first time. They're having to navigate relationships outside of the family unit on their own. And they have to learn how to be amiable, beautiful, likable, right? And there is this quality, I think, that if you have Mercury in Libra, that you have a way of talking that is very beautiful, that is very even melodic or aesthetically pleasing, or the words you use are poetic. And also, Libras are about harmony. They're about beauty. They're about harmony. They're about everyone being harmonious together. And if somebody is messing that up, somebody is creating an injustice that is disrupting the harmony and the beauty that could be, Libras are going to say something about it. And if your Mercury is in Libra, you are going to be saying things about the injustice. You also are likely going to be saying it in a way that is beautiful, that is poetic, that makes people see and feel what the harmony and the beauty that could be, right? I think that there's this smooth talking way that Mercury and Libras can have. They are fast thinkers, but the way that they're thinking is like this is the beauty that could be, or even the beauty that's here. This is the person or the people or the things that are disrupting it. And we are going to say something that makes people do something about it and right the wrongs. And I think that there's this way that Libra Mercuries have where it's like they have this ability, I think, to be able to say what's really hard to hear in a way that's really beautiful. And I think that's a really beautiful gift. The other thing that I would say is, again, we're going back to inner communication as well as exterior communication. Libra Mercury, make sure that you're talking to yourself in a way that's beautiful. Make sure that the words that you use for yourself are beautiful, that you're advocating for your own harmony as well, your own experience of beauty, because I think that will be important. Because Libras can get very other focused, very aware of everyone else around them, and can sort of not put into account what they need in order to feel beautiful and to feel aesthetically pleasing to themselves, right? So if you are feeling stuck and you're a Libra, your voice is gone, again, literally or figuratively, are you choosing to express beauty? And if not, what is beautiful to you? And how can you bring that into your life today? So fun. Also, again, Mercury retrograde, whether it's a transit or in your chart. If it's in your chart, just realize that this is a muscle that you're going to have to intentionally build, that's a part of your life story. And if it's transiting and Mercury's retrograde, just realize that this is an opportunity for you to take a break, for you to like just unplug a little bit. And also, this is true for all of the air signs, especially Mercury air signs. I think that journaling for you, getting the words out on written paper or maybe even voice notes, is really important for you to be able to just let your brain rest a little bit, because your brain is just going. Okay, Mercury in... Did I talk about the vocal quality? I just think the vocal quality for Libra Mercury is going to be very beautiful, very aesthetically pleasing, using words, actual words that are poetic and appealing. A very appealing way of expressing and communicating. All right. Mercury in the 8th house and Scorpio. We're back into a water sign. Something, again, we're moving into the more mature placements, signs and houses. And water, we're going to go into some melody. This is a deeper, darker water situation. Mysterious, alluring, a little bit, more sensual, even powerful. I would not be surprised if these are some of the vocal qualities for a Mercury and Scorpio. And, or because Scorpios don't want everyone to know how deep and intense their feelings are, sometimes this can mean that they put on a front that's rather humorous. I see this especially with men in our society with Scorpio energy. They can either be, again, that more brooding or mysterious, like I stand in the shadows kind of vibe, or they become comics. They're like really witty. They're really like able to like spin all of that psychological intensity into humor. So that's another thing that I do think happens in terms of the vocal quality. I do think that there's like something that can be kind of witty and biting with a Mercury and Scorpio. Because again, Scorpio is all of this, the intense inner psychological workings of like the parts of us that are often considered taboo, or like we're not supposed to look there, the darker shadow side of self. And Scorpio is very interested and intrigued and aware of those things. And so Mercury, again, communication, probably rather interested in understanding on a very mental level how all of that works, how you work, how other people work, being very analytical of the psychological workings of a person, themselves and others. There's a need to express that though. And I think that this is, if you have a Mercury and Scorpio, first of all, I understand that this is hard to express. And also, it's probably really important for you to express it somewhere, whether it's journaling. A trusted confidant would be great, but getting that, some of those deeper feelings out somehow. Because again, Mercury is here to show what we're here to express, what we're here to communicate, both to ourselves and to the world around us. So therefore, like, this is a part of your energetic blueprint, and you are here to be able to express and communicate some of those deeper, darker things that other other people like don't even know exists, let alone want to know it exists, let alone, like this is just like breathing for Mercury and Scorpio. Like you're probably the kind of person who notices all of the psychological shifts of people around you. And that's a gift. And make sure that you have some space for you to express some of those deeper feelings that you have. I also think that if you have Mercury in Scorpio or the 8th house, the likelihood of you being a therapist of some kind seems really likely. Or even like a sensual voice actor, right? I could see a Mercury, Scorpio, or 8th house having that. Or, like I said, maybe a comedian, which seems like totally different, but it's like taking some of all of that psychological pain, still being able to express it, but doing it in a way that's kind of funny and humorous, especially if you have like a Mercury is also in Aquarius or the 3rd house or something like that. So, okay. Maybe even Leo having fun with it. What else do I want to say? Yeah, I think that's good. Let me know if you have Mercury here, what else that you might nuance or add to all of that. Okay, Mercury in the 9th house or Sagittarius. If you are not aware of your own truth, your own values, and you aren't expressing that, whether it's through your words, through your style, through your thoughts that you have about yourself, I think this is where you will feel stuck. If you're not exploring, whether that's through books, actual places, different styles, right? I think that this is when you might feel like the communication system gets all fogged up. And a part of what you're here to do with Mercury and Sagittarius is to express truth, to express a philosophy, to express your values. And if you don't know what those are, that's when I think you're going to either, like I said, literally or figuratively lose your voice. I also think that Sagittarius Mercuries are likely teachers. Again, it could be through books, it could be an actual teaching position, or at least sharing and expressing the knowledge that they've gained through the experiences that they've had. Now, I will make 2 caveats with this. One is that if you have not been exploring recently, and truth is not a static thing. Truth is something that's evolving as you continue to have experiences. So therefore, Sagittarius Mercuries, I think, need to be really careful that they're teaching from a place of continued exploration, not stagnation. I think that's going to be really important. Second, Sagittarius energy can have some issues around tactfulness. And this is coming up because it's about communication. I think that because Sagittarius energy, it's like you have your truth, you share your truth, you have your truth, you share your truth, but it's not always, we're back into a fire sign, right? So there's like some forward energy. Yes, it's more mature. So I think we are going to see somebody who's like, the vocal quality, I think, is going to be a little bit lower, a little bit more like there's still like I want to spread my ideas. I want to set fire with my voice to sparking ideas and truth, which is great. It's brilliant. I think one of the difficulties that a Mercury and Sagittarius might have is that if you don't think about how you share those thoughts and you just share all of the thoughts, you share all of the truths, whether or not somebody has asked for it or whether or not you've assessed how you're going to say it in a way that is actually going to be received by the other person. This is where some Sagittarius, especially Mercury and Sagittarius energy, like you might get stuck because you have all of these cool truths and experiences, but if you don't learn how to share those thoughts in a way that other people can receive it, that's a life lesson that a lot of Sagittarius energy is here to like really embrace and learn. So that's, and again, like with the fire sign, even though it's more mature, there is still like an intensity that can happen. And again, if you notice that you aren't, you feel like you are not able to express yourself effectively, go and see, are you exploring? And if you're not, how can you bring some exploration into your world? Again, it could be a new book, it could be a new genre of music, it can be a new restaurant, a new country, but what do you need to be exploring in order to expand, right? Sagittarius is about expanding. And yeah, I think that will be like, and in style, are you letting yourself explore your style, or are you stagnant? Are you stuck? Sagittarius energy, no being stuck. Like, we don't want to be stuck. All right. Let's move into Mercury and Capricorn, or the 10th house. So in terms of vocal quality, we're back into an earth sign. This is the most mature earth sign. We're going to notice more, again, measured way of speaking. Everything needs to be efficient. There's a dutifulness in the expression of one's voice or words that they choose. I would not be surprised if you have Mercury in Capricorn in 10th house that you are very capable of thinking in terms of, these are the steps that are required in order to achieve this thing that I want to achieve. This is why Capricorn gets associated with career, because it's about the outward achievements we want to make, the impact we want to make, but there's also a resource quality to it. If we're an earth sign, we need the resources to feel secure, to feel safe. I want to make money, right? Like, Capricorns are aware that it takes steadfastness to accomplish what needs to be accomplished in order to gain the resources they would like to have in order to be safe, to be taken care of, to be dutiful. And so if your Mercury is here communicating in a way that is measured, slower, that you have a bit more, might be a little bitey sometimes with what you say. Because again, it's just like, is this efficient or not? Is this gonna get me to my goals or not? And that I wouldn't be surprised, unless, like, again, it's a Mercury in Capricorn and the 3rd house or something. Like, there's probably a slower way of talking. There's probably everything that you say has a reason. And that's lovely. I think I'm bringing it up right now because in our world, our culture, that sometimes that might get made fun of, or that might not be as accepted. And I just want to be like, I think it's great. I think we need more people who take their time to really know if what they're saying is going to have the impact and the accomplishment that they need from it, right? So I'm just saying that and saying I see you if for some reason that's ever felt frustrating in our culture, if you have this placement. And then also, again, thinking in terms of to-do list and systems and being able to see the structure. Whoever created like the 3 acts to storytelling had a Mercury in Capricorn, or the 10th house, because that's communicating through structure. The structure creates flow. Now, what I will say is that if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're not expressing yourself really well and you have a Mercury in Capricorn, go and see if you are either not using any systems to communicate, or if the systems that you are using are outdated and you need to update them. And I'm going to see if I can think of like a good example. Like, say the system that you're expressing your style in is The Style Roots by Ellie Jean Royden. And they worked for a really long time, but lately you've been feeling stuck. You're not expressing yourself that well. You need to go back and make sure that that system doesn't need to be nuanced or updated in some way to be able to benefit you now in the communication you want to have. Also, make sure that in how you communicate with yourself, that you aren't being too hard on yourself. This is a sign that can be very strict. And if your Mercury is here, just be conscientious that you're not too critical of yourself. You have probably accomplished things that are pretty cool. And I think that a part of a Mercury and Capricorn lesson is to communicate appreciation for those accomplishments versus just getting to the accomplishment and already being ready to do the next one. And I just think that that could be really beneficial for somebody who has Mercury and Capricorn or the 10th house. Also, there's a certain sense of like natural power that this person probably communicates with. So if you have Mercury here, just be aware that you may communicate naturally in a way that's pretty powerful. Okay, Mercury in Aquarius or the 11th house. The need to communicate your unique qualities. There's a very inventive quality to Aquarius or the 11th house. The way you think is probably very fast. You've got lots of new ideas, and it's very much like, what can I make that hasn't been made before? I would not be surprised if Edison had like Mercury in Aquarius or the 11th house, because it's like, I want to make something that progresses humankind in this unique way that's never been done before. So lots of ideas, but it's very inventive. It's very like wanting to create something that's never been created before to benefit your community or the world, humanity, right? Like that's a lot of Aquarius energy. And so the way you think is again, we're an air sign. It's very fast, lots of thoughts happening. Make sure before you go to bed, you write down all of your ideas so that you can actually sleep. And also when you communicate, I'm going to guess that the vocal qualities, again, we're in a more mature sign, but I think that there's still going to be a lot of like fast talking as long as it's about something that's interesting to you. And also still some breath equality here. I do tend to note that if you have Mercury retrograde in an air sign, breath work is probably really important for you because you may be a chest breather. Because again, it's just happening so fast that you're like sipping for air all the time to be able to communicate everything you think. And so therefore, if you get lightheaded, that could be something to consider. So just if you do have Mercury in an air sign, breath work is great for all of us anyway, so you're not going to go wrong with it, but just be aware that that could be a thing. And then also, if you're feeling constricted, if you feel like your communication systems are down, if you feel like you're not expressing yourself the way you want to express yourself, are you letting your uniqueness come through? Are you trying too hard to fit in instead of letting yourself, the things that are special about you, be seen? If your Mercury was retrograde here in your birth chart, I will also note that this may be somebody who at an early part of their life may have felt like their uniqueness, what was special about them, was not allowed to be expressed. And a part of your life journey is to let yourself reframe that story, to take your power back and say, you know what, I am special, I am unique, who I am does affect the group in a positive way. These attributes that are different are actually valuable, and letting yourself express those things. So yeah, it's really fun. That makes me excited. I'm like, if you have Mercury in Aquarius, please let me know if you're somebody who's like invented different things. Because I feel like that's just a way that your mind might work. And it could be like different business ideas or different, like maybe you've designed things for fashion, or, like just you've come up with new things, and I want to know what they are. Okay. Mercury in Pisces or the 12th house. This is somebody who thinks in fantasy, this is the quote unquote most mature of the planets, but it's like you've gotten so mature that you're already in the next world. So there's a little bit of this ethereal quality, right? That like not quite of this world. And in terms of vocal quality, we're in the most mature water sign. But think about Cate Blanchett as Galadriel. It's deeper. There's this melody to it, and it feels like it's high and low at the same time. Like this is a very Piscean Mercury type of quality of your of one's vocal vocal expression. I would not be surprised for somebody who has this position. But in terms of like the way, because Mercury is about how you think, right? You have like so many fantasy worlds, possibly. Like you have, like there's this ability to imagine these beautiful other places. I mean, if Sarah J. Maas doesn't have Mercury and Pisces are the 12th house, I would be shocked, because that ability to be able to hold on to all of those fantasy worlds and then to see that, like she makes them real. It's crazy. Anybody who can take a fantasy world and make it real through what they express, I think this is what a Mercury and Pisces or the 12th house is so good at doing. So good at being able to say, here's this fantasy. This is how like here, and especially there's like an idealism, there's a romanticism to this position, because again, Pisces is about how we're all like connected and beautiful, and there's an ideal way that we could all be, and there to be able to express and make people feel connected to the divine or to that ideal through this fantasy expression. So whether that, again, that could be in style, that could be the words that you use, it could be poetry, it could be stories. Again, would not be surprised if you are really good at like writing fantasy stories if you have this position. And also I want to know if you are writing a fantasy book. If you have this position, actually, if you don't have this position, I still want to know. I'm like looking for all sorts of anybody who's writing, like especially romantasy. So I would say that if you feel constricted, if you're actually like literally losing your voice or feeling like you can't express yourself, are you allowing any of that fantasy to live through your life? And again, that could show up in the clothes that you choose to wear. It could show up in the vocal quality you use. It could show up in the stories you let yourself actually write and share. Because this is another thing with Mercury here. You may have this ideal way that you want to express everything, so much so you don't let yourself express. And that can be you're here to express this fantasy. You are here to let us get this taste of what another world could be like, and by doing that make us feel more connected to our own souls. And that's incredible. It's such an incredible gift. But if you hold on to perfectionism as a way to keep yourself from expressing, I don't think that that's what you're here to do. I think you're here to express that fantasy in a way where we can feel more connected to our own souls, so that you can feel more connected to your own soul. I just think that it's a beautiful thing that you are here to communicate to all of us. So let me know if that resonates, and if you are writing something, I want to know all about it. Or if you are expressing that fantasy world in a tangible way, I want to know, like, what is it? I'm so excited. Okay, we've made it. We've gone all the way through. Thank you so much for being here, for making this channel like possible. I still feel so incredibly grateful that you all keep coming back and watching these, and that you also find what I find interesting valuable. And yeah, I just appreciate all of you so much. And yeah, if this is interesting to you and you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.